Now let's start creating our model. First, I will calculate the value for each version and market segment. The value is how much you're willing to pay minus the price. Now, if I want to copy paste this formula all the way to the right here and all the way to the bottom in row onto row 20, then I need to make sure that the references are made absolute or relative properly. Now, if you copy paste this, you want this blue cell reference to keep moving, but the pink one, it should only move from column to column, but it should not move from row to row. So that's why I need to fix the C13 reference. Push F4 once. You're getting absolute values everywhere. You're fixing both the column and the row. But I only want to fix the row, so I push F4 once more and I get what I need. So that's my formula. And then I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to paste it. And let's just pick one cell here. Small companies, their willingness to pay is $250. The version is $100, so the value should be $150, and it is $150. Great. So now that we have the value of each version to each market segment, then we figure out the maximum of these values, which will tell us which version that segment will choose. So here I add maximum of these three numbers. Then I copy this and I paste it all the way down. Now I know that the consultants, for example, will choose the version that gives them a $400 value, which is going to be large scale. Now, the next question we ask is the particular market segment active or not? To illustrate this, let's actually make the educational version $40. When I make the educational version $40, as you can see, students' maximum value is a negative number, which means they will not buy any version. So if we need to figure out whether a certain market segment is active or not, we do a quick if statement which says if the maximum is negative, then that segment is not active, and otherwise it is. So here I use 0 for not active and 1 for active. Let's actually add that here too, so that I'm going to copy this, I paste. As you can see, with the current setup, student segment is not active, but the rest is. If I made this $25, then the student segment is active as well. Let's go back and make this 40. Now the next thing is, if a certain segment is active, what will they choose? What version will they choose? For this I will use the match function, but it needs to have an if statement before it. If the market segment is not active, then they are not choosing anything. Their choice is 0. If they are active, then I'm going to use the match function to figure out, well, where is this number, the max number is coming from in this array. And then for the match type, I'm going to choose an exact match. I have my formula here. Now I'm going to copy this, paste it all the way down. Now what I see here is 2, 3 numbers. So what that means is educational version is a 1 in these arrays. Educational version is a 1, large scale is a 2, and high speed is a 3. So when you look at consultants, for example, the version they choose is a 2, which means they're going to go for large scale, which is the one that gives them the maximum. If you look at large companies, the maximum value comes from high speed, so they're choosing 3 high speed. So perfect. Now we know who chooses what. And again, let's make the price of the educational version 25. As you can see, if I make this 25, then the students actually will buy the first version of the software, which is the educational version. Right. Now the next thing we're going to look at is to decide whether a certain version will enter into the market or not. Now, and here's how we're going to do this. We're going to say if somebody chose that version in this column H, then that version will be developed. If nobody has chosen it, then it will not be developed. In this particular case, it's easy to see that educational version we won't have to worry about, but large scale and high speed will be developed. And so here's what we'll do. We'll say in this range, look at the count of 1, which means see if there are any educational versions. And if the count is more than 0, then this means that version will enter into the market, otherwise it won't. So again, let me walk you through this. Look at the range age 16 through age 20. Look at how many times 1 shows up in this range. If it shows up at least once, then that version will enter into the market, otherwise it won't. So I'm going to copy this formula here. And then I'm going to paste it. And this time, instead of having 1, I'm going to have 2, which will look at whether version 2, large scale version, is chosen or not. And then in the next one, I'm going to choose version 3. So in this particular case, as you can see, I don't see any ones here, so educational market is not going into the market. There are 3 market segments that are choosing version 2, so version 2 is going into the market, large scale. And there's 1 segment that's choosing version 3, so high speed is going into the market as well. Let's quickly change something here. Let's make a high speed, for example, 3000. In that case, as you can see, everybody who is active chooses version 2, so then I don't have to develop and enter high speed into the market. Now that we know who chose what and which versions are going into the market, now let's figure out price paid. So for price paid, all you have to do is look at their choice. If they didn't choose anything, then they are not paying any price, obviously. And if they chose something, then you can pick up the price from here. So I'm going to say index in this array their choice. Should be. I'm going to copy paste this all the way down, so the blue reference should keep moving, but the pink reference should stay the same. So I'm going to go ahead and make this absolute. Copy this, paste it all the way down. As you can see, labs, consultants, and small companies are paying $100, and large companies are paying $900. Now the revenue is going to be basically how much price you paid per your version and how large your market size is. So it's going to be price paid times the market size. In this case, I want both the pink reference and the blue reference to keep moving, so I don't need to make any absolute values. I'm going to copy this and paste it all the way down. The next thing is whether I spend any advertising marketing costs. Again, this will depend whether a certain market segment is active or not. So I'll have an if statement. I'll say if the market segment is not active, then no marketing costs. Otherwise, the marketing costs will be coming from here. Again, I want both the blue reference and the pink reference to be moving as I copy paste this down, so I don't need to absolute reference anything. I'll go ahead and copy this, paste. Great. Next, the variable costs. The variable costs are going to be based on the variable cost of the version times the size of the market, how many units I'm selling. And again, I need to do if the market segment is not active, then no variable cost. Otherwise, what do? I pick up the size of that market segment, then multiply it by what the variable cost of the version they have chosen, which is going to be index of the variable cost, and then the index of value here. So again, let's take a look if I need to make anything absolute here. The blue reference need to move, the green reference need to move, the pink reference need to move, but the purple reference should stay at the same place. So I'm going to absolute reference that. Now I copy this, paste special. Perfect. Now for each market segment, I know the revenues and I know the costs. I can calculate the profit. That's easy. Revenue minus advertising cost and variable cost. Then I copy this, paste it all the way down. Now the other thing that I need to do is, will I have to pay fixed costs for any of these versions? And that will be determined by whether it enters into the market or not, times how much fixed cost do you pay for it. And then again, when I copy paste this, I want both the blue reference and the pink reference to keep moving, so I don't need to fix anything. This is my total fixed cost for developing the versions, and I have my profits here. So then your final profit is these profits that you have here minus these costs you have here. Now we are almost done with our spreadsheet model. The last thing is to add one more twist here.